some more memory options for you Sony kids out there, some serious power from Aputure Lighting, a crazy kit from Hasselblad. We're going to be losing some more lens options out there and much more. Stick with me, let's get into this. What's going on, everyone? Seth Miranda here. This is Adorama Rewind, and yeah, let's just get right into it. Like I said, you Sony kids have got some more memory options out there because Sony with the A7S III and the Alpha 1 have adopted their own media, actually, which is the CFexpress Type A format. Now, Canon, Nikon, Lumix, and some others have been using CFexpress Type B, but what the CFexpress Type A format has done for Sony is allow them to have a smaller form factor and also make what they've put out kind of a hybrid memory card slot in the Alpha 1, the A7S III, where you could have SD cards or this CFexpress Type A format in the same slot. So there's no need for like extra ports or whatever. It's pretty interesting. However, they're the only ones using it, so it's only been a Sony made product forever. Well, Prograde has fixed that. They are now offering a CFexpress Type A card. Now, this is kind of a big deal because if Sony was the only one using the card, Sony was the only one manufacturing the card, it is their media. So they basically had like the market, right? They could kind of make the price whatever. Not saying that they're gouging, but having more brands make the same product as an option allows for more competition, prices come down, all sorts of things. This is $330 for 160 gigs. If you went with the Sony Tough version, it is $400. Now, here's the thing. They are comparable because they're the same format, they're the same speed, they're the same storage space, right? But with the Sony Tough card for the extra like $70, you are getting a waterproof rating of IPX7, which means you can actually submerge this in up to 3 meters of water for up to 30 minutes is what they're saying it's safe for. They're not saying that for the Prograde card, but Prograde is still saying that theirs is shock proof, X-ray proof, and vibration proof. So it's not like a flimsy card or whatever. It's not like the Tough card is the end all of being well built and stuff like that, but you do get the waterproof capability to some degree. So if you are someone that's using these cameras in harsh environments, you might want to consider still going with the Sony card, but Prograde is totally an option out there. And that kind of adds up after a while, right? 2 card slots. You want to have at least 2 cards, if not 4, so that you're constantly swapping and you do have to replace media after a while. After a while, every time you save $70, that kind of adds up, and that's pretty great. It is more for their Pro line, obviously the A7S III and the A1, which are both, you know, $500 to $6,500 cameras out there, but they are beasts and professional tools. So let me know what you think about that. Are you someone that even cares about waterproof ratings on your memory cards? Isn't that crazy that that's a question we're asking now? Let's move on. Hasselblad has put out an anniversary kit. So yeah, 80 years of Hasselblad. They're putting out the 907X kit with a special edition lens. So it's a 35mm 3.5 lens, but it is silver, like a matte silver. It's not like a chrome or anything like that. And you get the plates on it that say it's an anniversary edition, all that kind of stuff. What's going on here? Well, this is not a cheap kit. You're looking at a $15,000 price point, $15,100. Can you imagine you saved up for this for whatever reason and you're $100 short of $15,100? I can't, whatever. Anyway, people are saying you can get this kit without the anniversary edition, the regular colors, without the markings on or whatever, and you could save some money. I think what they're missing there is with this system, with Hasselblad, with Leica, with things like this, it's not so much about getting more camera, it's about collectability. So obviously being an anniversary edition, they're not going to make as many as a production run, and people do collect these, believe it or not, and there are people in this world that do collect Hasselblad, not as much as you would see Leica or special editions from other things like that, but they do exist. I'm wondering, are you one of those people? Do we have any Hasselblad shooters out there? And if we do, are you more about the collectability of it, the luxury of it, or are you into just the pure quality of it? The H system has incredible image capability. The X1D was a lot of fun to use. I got to borrow Daniel's for a little bit. Really incredible files. The color, incredible. And Hasselblad legit is just quality. I mean, there's no getting around it. It's built proper. But this is definitely a little bit of a uptick on the price for the collectability factor. And you're kind of rolling dice banking that it will be worth a little bit more if you want to sell it later on because it'll be limited availability. But is there a Hasselblad collector market out there? Let me know down below. Really curious about that. Let's jump over to Aputure. This is nuts. They're calling this their flagship light, and I'm totally understanding why. The Light Storm 1200D, it is putting out 83,100 lux output. That's at 3 meters, and since it's Bowen's mount, you can get their hyper reflectors for it, which change the beam angle. As you change the beam angle, light intensity definitely changes. This is nothing new as far as reflectors go, but just think about if you're getting 83,000 off the bat, what you're getting as you change the reflector. It is weather resistant, which is really cool. That means that it is not only sealed, but the connectors can handle getting wet. This is great, especially on film sets where you have to make it rain. It's not just can it resist the weather that's happened that day. Can you use it in environments that you create? So this is pretty cool. Waterproof fans. I mean, it's pretty awesome. And Aputure has done things at price points to really make things accessible. This obviously, since they're calling it a flagship and it is a definite hardcore pro level light, it's going to be up there in price. I don't have one yet, but Aputure has come through on, while it is in an upper price bracket, it is probably the lower end of that bracket. You have 0.1% stepless dimming, which means you have ridiculous control in this thing. That's awesome, especially if you're someone that's super particular. If you're working with a lot of mixed lighting, if you're trying to create an environment or hit a certain exposure point, you have that much control, which is awesome. And of course, you have things like effects in there, color accuracy, but they also redesigned all their boxes for it, for the power pack, that you can keep it upright. And this is kind of a big deal for people. That means that you can not only grip it to the stand in a position, but you can also just put it down on the ground in the same position. Little things like that show that they're really thinking about the workflow and the people that use this, especially professionals. So I'm pretty anxious to actually get a crack at this thing. I'm pretty psyched on it. Aputure is legit saying this is their flagship light, and they put out some pretty cool stuff over the years. And I think there's definitely like a fan base, if not a cult, for Aputure lighting. So let me know down below if you're excited for this. Let me know down below if you've been waiting for something like this from Aputure. This looks like a complete beast. Let me know down below if you're someone that's been waiting for a ton of power from Aputure. And of course, it works with their whole system, that whole wireless app and everything. So if you're within that, this is an option for you to work with that system. And like I mentioned, we are losing some lens options out there. Nikon is discontinuing some staples in their lineup. The 80-400 f4.5 5.6, the DX version of the 12-24 f4, and the 105 2.8 micro, which is one of my favorite lenses of all time. This is no surprise. The F-mount has been around for decades. There are hundreds of thousands of these lenses out there in the world. It's not that, oh, can I find it? Oh, what am I going to do? It's more like, hey, we're all moving over to the Z system as we go forward. They put out the 105 micro for the Z mount. You can check out my video for it. I'll put the link down below. Check that video out. It was a pretty good one. But I also love that lens, and I still have the F-mount version of it. But the 105 Z mount is legit a better lens at the same price point that works with the newer mount. You can't deny it. So I think this is just, the way it's going. And I don't think it's like, oh no, doom and gloom. It's more like progress. Why waste resources, materials, sourcing, R&D, stock, shipping, all this stuff for things that they're progressing away from and elevating the series that they're in right now. They have the Z9 on the horizon, their flagship. They're looking to go hard here. They're going for the pro market. And, this is kind of what's happening with fleshed out systems. Both Canon and Nikon are basically going, let's just get away from having to adapt lenses. I mean, why should we do that? They're 3 years deep in both the full frame mirrorless systems that they put out, from the Orrz system from Canon, the Z series from Nikon, and they both put out fleshed out lens lines. You have professional grade glass from Nikon and affordable options, which they started their lens line with. You have professional glass that Canon started the RF mount with, and now we're coming out with affordable versions of it, and they're just filling in the gaps one by one by one. Next year, I think we're going to see a ton of glass not only fill in the gaps of the roadmaps, but come into stock, because they've announced plenty of lenses, both brands, where they just haven't had the ability to fill stock from the shortages that are happening, the craziness that's going on with production rates. I mean, we're talking about some factories operating at 20% for the majority of the last 2 years. So everybody's hurting here, but it is interesting to see what decisions they're making to, take resources away from something they don't feel they need to put into anymore, and allocate it to what they're doing going forward, right? So again, I don't think this is doom and gloom. Canon was actually first to announce discontinuing some lenses on their EF mount, and they're looking all ahead on the RF mount, and Nikon's doing the same from the F to the Z mount. I'm super excited. I really, that 105 2.8 I used for a decade. Easily. I had 2 of them. I kept them in every bag, and now the 105 Z mount is just mind-blowing phenomenal, and it's at a great price point. I'm going on a tangent. I got to stop doing that. I got to keep these a little bit shorter. I did want to clue you in. We just got back from break at Adorama, so Adorama is back in full force. You can order all the stuff you want, but the videos never stopped, guys. We had a lot of things come out on the channel. If you missed it, histogram versus light meter from David Bergman. Daniel just went live with getting most out of your speed light, which is awesome. Creating a ring of fire, which is a really fun, cool effect. Really easy to do as well, from Pi Jerza, and many, many more. Take a look through this channel. The videos have not stopped. Power mount lighting from Lindsay Adler. A lot of people have been commenting how much they appreciate being clued into that technique. Light or dark. So Gavin lets you see how to create a Lightroom look versus a darkroom look for the frame. Of course, Gavin is just like the man. And yeah, so I'm trying to keep these shorter. I know I ramble too much, and I want to keep these nice and tight so people click on them more. But I am still going to do the shout out of the week, going to this guy right here who supported Adorama and my own channels, comments like crazy multiple times on everything, so I had to give you a shout out. This one's going to you, Matt Orrz. I think you're all the way down in Australia, but does a lot of crazy car photography and is expanding his game in the studio realm using lights, and he's been commenting a lot on our videos about lighting, learning, I guess, what he needs in that regard from us, and we totally appreciate it. Thank you for sticking around with us for the ride. So this is a shout out to you. Give him a follow if you want to see some amazing, gorgeous places in this world. I know I hope to see Australia one day, but also the motorsport stuff is very cool. Now, let's go right into the question of the week. So we just talked about the Aputure flagship, right? And Sony had the Alpha 1 flagship come out in February. Canon has put out the R3. While they are strongly saying this is not a flagship, it's arguably one of the most high-performing cameras they put out to date, at a price point that is in the flagship territory. And we are on the brink of the Nikon Z9, the first flagship for their mirrorless lineup. So my question to you is, what do you even consider a flagship? When they say that term, a brand is really looking at it like, hey, here's our hardest core technology, best performance we've got at a price point in a pro market. But that flagship also means it's literally representing that brand. This is what they feel is what is representative of what they can really produce, and everything underneath that model takes bits and pieces. It has the autofocus from this, it has this menu system from that, it has this blah 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 blah. They split it up between resolution, performance, and all sorts of stuff. Let me know what you consider is a flagship to you. What is the most important thing to you? Because forever, flagships and cameras have been middle range, low resolution, like 16 to 24 megapixel, but crazy fast frame rates and autofocus. But now we're seeing 50 megapixel flagships, 45 megapixel flagships, and they're getting faster than what they were offering at lower resolutions. So at what point do we just go, hey, the technology is here, and one way or another, you get what you need out of it? So what I'm trying to say here is, if you want to think of like Nikon and Canon, for example, while the D6 might have been the flagship for Nikon, a lot of people gravitated heavily to the D850. And in my opinion, because more people adopt it, that kind of becomes the flagship for the brand on a social level. Canon, the 5D Mark IV, was way more widely adopted than the 1DX Mark III. For Sony, this is a $6,500 Alpha 1. But you have to admit that there's definitely way more A7R4s out there in people's hands, if not the A7 III at a really achievable price point, and we are thinking there might be an A7 IV coming, right? So there's like the brand flagship, but what is your social flagship? What's the camera that you see really out there in the wild that people are actually using hands-on and really trusting their careers, their hobby, their time, their resources with that level? What is it? Let me know down below in the comments what you think about what a flagship is for you. that's going to do it for me, guys. Let me know what you think about all this stuff. I'm curious who out there is using the Sony cards. Are you happy there's an option? Who out there is a Hasselblad collector? Are you in the Aputure lighting system? Are you excited about this crazy high output? Don't forget, I will be live later today if you're watching this on release. It is Sunday. Well, 7 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. I'm live on twitch.tv/AdoramaXP with Josh Soleil for all the gaming news. However, today, I'm pretty sure we're just going to spend most of the time complaining about Venom 2. What a trash movie. I can't. We'll talk about it. Come join us in the chat. If you did like that movie, I would love to hear your side of it, but we're going to go pretty hard on this one. I got to get back to binging Squid Game before all of social media ruins it for me. Is anybody else watching that? I feel like it's like a phenomenon right now, but whoa, okay? Yeah, don't spoil for me in the comments. Is anybody else watching that? Let me know. Anyway, don't forget to hit like, share this video around, hit subscribe, plus the bell to get notified when more videos like this come out. And I will see you guys down in those comments later.